Here with an old friend of mine, Peter Bruno. I just want to say thank you for being a guest on my talk show.
Thank you for having me.
Now, for people who want to know what Uncensored is a non-official talk show, but I'm trying to turn it into an official talk show. But it's also my way to show people that even with a learning disability, I can still overcome controversy and reach my goals in life. At the same time, turning myself into a perfect example for people out there deaf, blind, or in a wheelchair. That you should never label yourself, and you should prove to people you can still mount to something. So with that being said, it's a half-hour talk show, but you have as much time as you want. And you can ask me anything. It's uncensored. You can curse if you want to.
Alright.
You know, like you say, uncensored, but a lot of people, don't take advantage of the uncensored part. So, starting off, what can you tell me about yourself?
I feel like that's a hard question to answer because you never know if you want to say like who you are versus what you do, if that makes sense. So like, I guess I could say right now I am a student and I'm doing my undergrad studies, and then I'm also in the process. I'm a musician, so I'm in the process of writing music and starting a new band over because I kind of miss it. I've been absent from doing it for years. So. Alright,
well, you bring up a good point that if you're interested, I would like to hire you if you're interested for a song. I'm thinking about doing like a theme song. Right now I'm borrowing like the TNA theme song, but if you're interested, I would like to hire you if you want to work something out.
Yeah, I mean, if I can make something that's up to par, I'd love to do that. My problem now is I don't know if I would have enough studio equipment to make it sound good for you, but by any means, if there's any way I can help, I would love to.
Alright, so we talked more about it after the show.
For sure.
And now for people who want to know, we went to school together, but we had like 1 or 2 classes together, but from your point of view, how did you enjoy the high school hell?
Yeah, I figured that would be a good thing to talk about here, since we both experienced the same high school, and I think we were both involved with like AV stuff, and that was a big saving grace for me. I don't know for you. High school is interesting. I'm not one of those people that looks at it with I didn't have a very positive experience there. I did have a few really good teachers that I think maybe made up for the entire experience. I think it did make me stronger as a human, having to go through so much, experience so much negativity there. But, what can you say? What was your perception of that school?
Well, there's a couple of things, but I had more one thing I want to talk about is the anti-bullying thing.
Yeah.
I'll get your opinion on that in a little bit. But I did get picked on by 1 or 2 students, or there were a bunch of students who were acting like assholes, and you may have heard the rumors of people calling me a stalker. That's not true. It's all bullshit. But made up by this one girl who's fucking mentally unstable. And not going to linger on the past, but I always had more issues with the teachers. For example, there's this one teacher who gave me a hard time saying, oh, you spend too much time in AV, and if you were, like you said, part of the AV club, you know exactly what teacher I'm talking about. She always came down and it's like, why are these people just hanging out here? Is this like a hangout club or whatever? And she kept running her mouth, and she tried closing AV at one point, and everyone's like, who's the asshole brought this bitch down here? And everyone pointed at me. Yeah, it wasn't done deliberately. It's not my fault the teacher's mentally unstable. But like you said, the saving grace for both of us, it was being part of AV. My freshman year of high school, I hanged out with my brother's friends that he didn't graduate or they were stayed back an extra year, so I always had that for my freshman year. Sophomore year, I started just hanging out in the cafeteria, sitting against the wall. I didn't want to deal with all the food fights or whatever. So as soon as the bell rings, I just ran like a bat out of hell. So there's this guy, Mr. Earl, that came over, and he said, "Why don't you come down to the AV club and make something of yourself?" And from the first day I walked in, I fell in love with AV.
Now you got your own show, so it worked out.
I don't know if you remember the morning show.
Yeah, I do.
I came up with the idea originally. It was back in 2000 and... Well, it wasn't 2006. It was about 2004, 2005. I said, I'm here every 8:10 in the morning when I have study hall. Why don't I do like a show? Oh, well, I don't think, school will go for that. I don't think you can do this or do that. You can try it if you want to. And what happens a year later? Hey, everyone, we have a morning show. And it's like, yeah, I didn't even get credit for it. It's like, oh, I came up with that. Oh, no, you didn't. You're just saying that.
Yeah, I mean, I took that class that, where you got credit for the morning show, and I don't know, it was a cool experience, but it was kind of strange in the sense that everything was very micromanaged, so you kind of didn't really have any freedom with making anything. Like, I made countless segments that just never got used, or things that we did just got edited out, and it was kind of like they kind of just wanted you to, be the, I almost felt like a media puppet where they just wanted you to say what was on the teleprompter, and if we did anything creative, it was often, put on the back burner, I guess. But I think someone told me that doesn't even, that I think it stopped existing now or something, or it's just way different now. So I guess we had your idea had a nice little 2 to 3 year run, but I think now I don't think they do it much anymore. Or it doesn't play during homeroom. It plays it just plays in the cafeteria.
Well, I noticed if you look it up, Monroe-Woodbury on YouTube, there's a couple of videos that pop up. The one thing I kind of regret was I made a bunch of AV tapes. I had about 10 of them. And I won't mention the 2 people I hung out with, but I kind of wish I hung out with you more because you seemed like a cool cat to hang out with.
Well, for sure. I mean, that would have been... I feel like I didn't have a great group of friends at that school. For me, I didn't have as many instances, like you said, with teachers I didn't get along with. I mean, I had a few, but for me, it was much more the student body I had, I guess, problems with for some. I mean, I feel like I didn't have an inherent issue with any of them, but they took issue with me for, whatever reasons. I guess they didn't like that I wore, I dressed differently, I guess. I had longer hair. I still wear tight pants, I guess. But back then it was very taboo, and I don't know.
Well, one thing you would agree on, but we didn't really go to the most normal, stable high school. It's basically like a rich, snobby country club type feel.
I think it's hard because it's such a big school that you put so many different people from different, I don't know how to say it. I guess you put thousands of kids in a place, and there's bound to be some conflict, I guess. Especially when a lot of those kids hadn't known each other before. I get what you're saying, though. There was a lot of... It was very clique-based. Everyone had their little groups, and no one really integrated very much. And that's kind of sad when I look back on it.
No, I agree with you. And there was some rumor about certain floors, had like there's certain groups. You know, like there's certain groups that are hanging out on the A floor, and there's certain people only hanging out on the B floor. But you bring up a good point that there was a video of it, so I don't know why they took it down, but it's kind of hard to find. Where were you during the food fight of 2004? Or what was your outlook on it?
I think I was in 8th grade when that happened, so I was in middle school. But my mom worked at the school, and I guess I did have some friends involved with it. So like I did see some videotape of it, and it looked funny. Like I guess like I didn't see it as much of a big deal as everyone else did. I thought it was kind of funny, but yeah. Well, did you experience it? Or?
No, unfortunately, I was stuck in the classroom, but and just looking out to the video, it seemed more like it was more organized, because it's like, how did he get all those people in one place, and how did he get everyone to start chanting, you know, fuck this school, and how did he get everyone to do this? And you say, oh, it could be just a randomness, but the more you watch it, the more you think about it, the more you will actually think the teachers had something to do with it. And you know, like 40 people supposedly got arrested, and there's a scene with a girl I know in the video, with her boyfriend at the time, put her hands on the cop. The cop got this kid, and the cop pinned him down, he's putting handcuffs on him, and the kid walks up behind the police officer and he pushes him. Don't ask me why. That was a smart idea on his part. You know, that's a police officer of the war, and you just put your hands on him. That's called assault. So I think, you know, he got like arrested or a slap on the wrist for that. But
yeah, I know a bunch of kids definitely got. I don't know if they got in real trouble, but I know they got arrested, which must be a hysterical charge, like on the thing. But yeah, I know it was definitely organized by. I know that the kids at least had organized beforehand that they were going to do it, and I guess I heard it was insane as far as like the amount of, like, I heard almost everyone participated that was in the cafeteria, which is ridiculous considering how many people, like the thousands of kids that went to our school. There must have been hundreds of people in that room.
Yeah, that's
I wish I was a part of it. Although it does, I guess, like on the other hand, it does. I feel I get weirded out by being wasteful in that sense of like, because I understand that there are people who don't have access to a lot of food, and I guess on that end of the spectrum, you know, I do see it as, you know, kind of sad, wasteful, like first world kind of thing, but as it existed in time, I kind of wish I would witness it at least.
That's true. Now, the next subject I wanted to talk to you about, it's like, talking about, you say, for example, and not saying, yeah, but not kind of trying to come off like a dick or anything, like you got like a better education than me, but from your point of view, do you think that the school didn't really understand people with special needs? That they just basically just pushed them along and they didn't know how to deal with those people?
I think it's a bigger problem than just our school, to be honest. I think like I think like it's unfair, like we categorize people and kind of keep them stuck into boxes, and I think it would have been much more beneficial to have, like, sure, if someone needs special treatment as far as like, you know, more hands-on, like less people in the classroom kind of thing, like at times that can be okay, but I think you also need to balance that with integrating everyone else into an environment with everyone else, because those kids are also going to, like, both parties are going to benefit from being exposed to each other. I think, like, far too often, like, any disability kind of, like you said, gets thrown to the side, and then there's no understanding of it. And I think that's a huge issue. Like, but what was your take on it? I mean, I had some remedial classes, but that was more because I was getting bullied, and they wanted to separate me from some of the kids that I was in conflict with, I guess.
No, I understand. Like, there's some people who would, well, going back to EV, I remember, there's this rule where you had to have a certain amount of grades to be a part of the club. And I fell in love with EV. I wanted to be a part of it as long as I could. And there was a day where I slipped, and I didn't fall. I slipped and saying, yeah, my grades are okay. And said, tell us your grades. I said, 65. And he basically said, get out. And that's like, how come? You need to be like an 80 student, and you have to be active, you have to do this and do that. And I walked out, and this girl walked in. She saved my ass on that. She won't see it like this, but she walked in. I was in the hallway with my head down, sitting against the wall, thinking. I started to cry because I'm not gonna pass any of my classes because I have a learning disability. I'm never gonna be back in Navy, and I'm freaking a horrible feeling that they're just taking it away from me. The only reason I was a part of it was this girl walked in, asked if I was okay. I said no. She said, why is Keith outside crying his eyes out? And by the way, this is in the book I'm writing. And he called me in and said, I tell you what, you come in the AV, you show us that you're capable of doing what you're doing and you're able to pass your classes, you can be a part of it. And there's other teacher, Mr. Dewey, so he was one of the very few teachers that didn't give me shit. It's funny because I failed health class freshman year. I had to take it over in sophomore year, and he used to purposely pick on me, not like pick on me just give me a hard time. He used to just like pick on me. It's like, hey, Mendelbaum, what I say about riding your motorcycle to school, or what are you doing smoking doobies in class? And he was a great teacher to me, even though he did get a lot of shit for what happened to his kid. And people are just fucking stupid on that part.
Sure. For me, I had difficulties in school because I have like a mild form of Tourette, so like I have a lot of motor tics that I need to, that like just constantly happen, and if I don't participate in them, this anxiety just kind of builds up. And so for me, like, school was always difficult in the sense of like being confined to a desk and just like having to sit there for so long. But yeah, that's great. What do you think? Would you have liked? You said with two things. First, I'm interested in the book that you're writing, and two, do you what kind of change do you wish they had for disabilities at that school?
Well, for the first question, for change, I think it should have been more hands-on and more, learning. Instead, I'm going to give you a perfect example. Freshman year, I walked in with my dad. He said, okay, we understand that Keith has his learning disability. Well, we promise you, sir, after these, and this is, by the way, how they were speaking, we promise you after the 4 years, he's got to get this education, he's got to be a functional person in a society, and 4 years later, here's your diploma, have fun in retail for the rest of your life, because you're never going to amount to anything else. And, I was basically, from the stupid-ass kids I had to deal with, unfortunately, we didn't hang out that much, and I kind of wish we did. But to deal with the people I did, they were too busy, and the teachers, too. They were too busy about, well, why are you hanging out in AV? You're wasting your time in AV. Nothing's got to come from that. To these other kids are, bringing up trauma, making shit up. So they were so worried about bullshit that didn't make any sense outside school. They're making that into a whole big deal. So, like I said, if we had to compare education, if you're more educated than me, I guess you are in a more way, because I got shit on for the most part. I got people saying you have a learning disability, you're never going to amount to anything.
I mean, I don't want you to have this illusion that I did well in high school, because I don't think that environment was great for me. I mean, now I went back to school after years and years of playing music and touring. But in high school, I wasn't a good student. I did fail classes. I remember teachers that stuck out to me. A sociology course with Mr. Joe Hanneman was excellent. I took a science fiction course with Mr. Romeo, and those two classes, I think, almost saved my life, at least intellectually, because those courses opened my mind more than anything else. Because I did have teachers where they give you. My problem with that school, I think, and a lot of school in general, is they give you these rules for assignments, and it's like it has to fit into this nice, neat little box, and if you try to do something creative and different, they give you a terrible grade, even if it's a good project. I guess I never really liked following rules I didn't necessarily agree with, and so I was always kind of pushing the envelope in school. And like you said about being like a functional member in society, they kind of try to all have you be like carbon copies of everyone else, and there's like a sameness that's kind of problematic. But I mean, I was lucky enough where I was the last year where to pass the Regents and pass a course. So like I distinctly remember had a 28 average in my junior year of English, and the teacher definitely did not like me. And I managed to pull off a 98 on the English Regents and pass through the course. But thinking back now, like if the rules didn't exist now, like I would have definitely had to redo maybe even a year or so, and I'd be even further beyond.
All right. Well, to answer your second question, and I do have a question for you too, but answer your question about my book. My book's basically, it would have came out back in 2010, but I didn't really proofread it. I asked, Exuberus if they can go and do it, and I thought they did. So when I got it, my family was poking fun at it because, it said, instead of born, it says I rise. Instead of community college, it was comedy college. And there was just stupid things like that. But the whole book is to show people that all the BS I had to overcome, everything now that I'm accomplishing, and I'm still working on it. But the whole point of it is to show people that, from my point of view, overcoming controversy and women with a learning disability, it's just, you should never label yourself, and you should prove to people that, hey, I may have been dumped on by this group of people or that group of people, but hey, I wrote a book, I have a talk show now, we're knock on wood.
Yeah. What I like is that you take negatives and you turn them into like fuel for doing something positive, and I think that's excellent in general as like a way to live life. And I think a book from an actual, I feel like so many books about any kind of disability is written from an outsider perspective. So I think that's why, if you were to complete this book, I think that would be an immense tool for other people that are going through similar things, but also to the more administrative side of the people that are creating these programs for disabilities, I guess.
No, I got it. Now, the question I want to ask you, because you graduated like a year later after me.
Yeah.
Did they build or did they extend the high school? Because recently me and my dad drove past, and there's this big-ass section near the high school. It's like, where the hell would that come from? So I didn't know if they extended the school recently.
Yeah, I think they did. I don't think it was done by the time, like, when I was still going to school. But I think it's done now. I know what you're talking about, though. I think it's correct.
All right. What about the whole yearbooks? Do you still have your yearbooks, or you just like throw them out?
I'm not sure. I don't have it with me here. I think it's at my parents' house. I'm sure I have it somewhere. I don't think I had one every year, but I'm pretty sure I did get one for my senior year. The cool thing is, I guess, Facebook allows us, and social networking in general allows us to reconnect with people and have this interview and this conversation, for instance,
All right, and like I said, if you have any other questions for me, feel free to ask. Our next subject I want to talk to you about is gun control. It's like, feeling on my point that, well, I don't know what feeling means. Just on my point of view, like, gun control is like if people who are like rapists, people who are rapers or whatever, gangbangers, people who were felons or just came out of jail, or people who have learning disabilities. Those people should be on a list of being banned from having the firearms. And I know you get your Second Amendment, and people will dispute it. My right, have this, and my right. But if you're a danger to society, and you have like a police record of being a rapist or a murderer, that right should be waived. Where do you feel about it?
It's such a hard debate because on both extremes, I think both sides have good points and also have their flaws. I don't think there's like a perfect, like if you were to take one extreme or the other extreme, I don't think either would work. I think it needs. It's almost like an unresolvable issue, if that makes sense. I think if there was I don't know, I feel like I'm somewhere in the middle, but if there was a spectrum, I think I do agree that, like what you were saying, I think like once you do certain things, like maybe that does relinquish your right. Like you said, I'm not sure the person who's been accused of domestic violence multiple times deserves to have a gun in his house, Made me like look back on who was teaching me, I guess, and put that into perspective.
Well, before we end the show, I want to ask you a funny segment.
Okay.
When you were in high school, when I was in high school, was there any teachers that were very attractive that you was worn teachers that were students and you had a chance to hook up with?
I did not. I definitely think there were some, attractive teachers, but I don't think I would have ever had a chance, nor do I think they would have went for it. I did, however, I found one of my, recently on a dating website, I found one of my professors here at college, and I definitely messaged her to be like, since she's not teaching me anymore, it wouldn't be unethical. I messaged her, and it said that she was 21. So I was like, have you been 21 this entire time? Just to kind of be like, hey, I found you on the internet. It's kind of fucking awkward.
All right, so wrapping up the segment, do you have any funny stories you would like to share? Or do you have anything you want to say to your fans and listeners?
I'm terrible at storytelling. I'm awful, and I inherited that from my dad. But, I want to thank you for having me, though. I do say that.
No, the honor and privilege is all mine.
And good luck with everything.